Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good evenings to all of you. First and foremost, I'm honored to be here this afternoon to share my humble topics today. Before I start, let me extend my appreciations to the organizing committee of ICHIPS, the PSU, as well as INHARTS for successfully organizing this conference today and tomorrow, of course. Before I start, these topics is a part of my contributions, to show my contributions to this conference, even though in the short times. All right. Halal entrepreneurs amongst immigrants and their business prospects in Malaysia. This is not that general, rather it's specific topics, but it shows a very importance to the economics, well-beings and economic developments today. The reason means that if you look at developed nations, they have been developed the economic activities to the advanced levels with the contributions of immigrants, businessmen. And this happens a long time ago. If you look at the historical developments of economics activities in those countries, we can see that in early years, back in the 17th centuries, immigrants from Southern Europe to the Northern Europe, and after the World War I, say for example, from Europe to US, so forth and so forth. And today, of course, we have a lot of business communities from immigrants in the UK. Of course, mostly comes from immigrants from Asian subcontinents. We have also immigrants of Turkish business communities being present a lot in Germany. You know, we have people from Eastern Mediterranean countries into the France. You know, and you have a lot more of the examples. So it will be interesting to see to what extent it happens in Malaysia in the context of Halalpreneurs among immigrants, and what their views about the business prospects in Malaysia per se. So before I go further, let me first share what would be my flow of presentations. Of course, I start with introductions, go to the the literature review a bit before I move to the literature methodology, and this after which some interesting findings, very specific one, all right, and before this a conclusion is made. What is the amounts of immigrants, businesses, entrepreneurs in the world today, or immigrants per se? If you look at statistics, the International Labour Organizations has noted that more than 170 million international migrants in the world. This is official. But today, because of the war here and there, the conflicts, social conflicts, political conflicts, and economic clash between nations, you can see a lot more influx of the peoples from one nation to the others. When I say this immigrants or Halalpreneur immigrants, I do not ignore the locals of respective entrepreneurs. Why is immigrants? Well, from economic point of view, immigrant represents a competitive economic environment. It contributes capitals, it contributes skill and knowledge. Some of these immigrants moved to a country they were prepared about the economic activities. as opposed to the locals. So from economic point of view, they can create better multiplier effects than the locals. So at the end of the day, it contributes to economic activities of respective nations. In addition to that, they create jobs, all right? They increase level of incomes, enhance the standards of living of the people in respective countries. Of course, there are pros and cons about the positive and negative of the presence of the immigrants, especially immigrants at large. Nonetheless, I would like to kind of separate between different pathways of how immigrants to respective nations. One of which is immigrants that move in to a certain countries purposely for working, labor purposes. They don't have jobs in their respective countries, so the push factors is very big, and recipient countries accept them because of pull factors. There are jobs for them. Nonetheless, all right, much been ignored in the literature is about business migrations. And these days, if you look at the top 5 immigrant nations in the world today, like UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, these countries, in fact, provide business visa. If you have about $1 million US to be invested in those respective countries, you are given residence, business residence. So this shows how important is business migrations. Now, what determines immigrants to migrate to respective countries? Of course, there are external and internal factors. Okay, if we look at internal factors, it is difficulties for them to generate economic activities in the respective nations, in the countries of origins. But externality is also equally important, all right, where they also attracted by the opportunities of the of economic activities or economic growth and developments of countries of destinations. So therefore, these factors is also enhanced or supported by other elements such as resource mobility. If they have capacity and capability to do it, they have capitals, and they have networks, perhaps by ethnic links, all right, by the village links, or any links whatsoever. All right, they will find ways to migrate to different countries. Right. If you look at the migrants, entrepreneurs versus local entrepreneurs, in terms of the active entrepreneurial activities, migrant entrepreneurs tend to be more entrepreneurial. More of them initiate, start up, and expand businesses than the locals. The reason behind this is that because of survival strategy on the part of the immigrants. They have to survive in now a new country. They have to struggle more. Out of these efforts, make them better off in terms of payoff efforts they have made in the economic activities. And this statistic proves this is in the context of Germany. All right. In addition to that, in general, the startup firms of immigrants, entrepreneurs, than the local, all right, the numbers show up in the favors of immigrants, entrepreneurs. Immigrants tend to start up more firms in the country of destinations than the local themselves. Right. how this come to the Halalpreneur? All right, then in the context of Malaysia, say for examples, majority of the migrants, even though majority of them also for working, but we should not neglect a few, if not many of them, in fact, join and involve and start up their own businesses. They come with them with a capital, skill and knowledge, and network to certain extents, and participated in business activities. You see now in Malaysia, it's not just in halal, in the food and beverages, but also in the retail, groceries, cosmetics, direct sellings, furnitures, you name it, involved by the immigrants. So, as these migrants come mostly from Indonesia, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Yemen, they are conducting Halalpreneur activities. This is where Halalpreneur is. Right. So, how do I define Halalpreneur? Right. Halalpreneur, therefore, any entrepreneurs of immigrants who started, grow and expand their business. All right. With producing goods and services according to Sharia compliance, they are known as Halalpreneur. Okay, right. Let's look at halal food. Well, I don't have to detail out in these things, in these parts. My colleague from earlier presentations, Dr. Paco and the rest has given statistics about the halal food markets or halal industry as a whole. Nonetheless, it's good also, where is part 1 here, mention about this illegal immigrants activities. This is a difference than what I am presenting, some sharings. My one is halal and legal business activities, not illegal trading kind of activities, what one was mentioned this morning. Right. This is halal food alone. All right. If you look at in terms of size over the years, we can find that, all right, a huge increase right from the year 1990 to the year 2010. 2030, as forecasted the food markets alone to increase, all right, to about 26.4% from 19.9, which means that a lot of opportunities for halalpreneurs to tap in the markets out there. Right, this is a center of halal food markets. Having said that, nonetheless, the halalpreneur activities or economic activities in Malaysia, all right, and other countries alike, we can say that they are confronting with a lot of issues and challenges in conducting their business. They need, some of them need managerial skills, of course. Some of them, of course, don't know the local support systems or facilities. Some of them coming from relatively low-income nations to relatively better-income nations. They are confronting with different quality of products and services. All right. So the level of innovation is also different. So, and they are familiar with the market environments. The unfamiliarity has also represented some big issues for them to move at a faster pace when it comes to business activities. Some of them, of course, lacks of experience, capitals, raw materials, so forth and so forth. Why I am considering these issues, because these issues will be analyzed to the business prospects, all right, in this particular case study. How do I measure business success and prospects? Well, there has not been a consensus on what will be the business performance. What normally scholars do is to look at the financial and non-financial success of individual business. So in line with this, my study also, this particular case study, has indicated a number of financial aspects of it, including sales turnover, including the market share, the loyalty of the customers toward products and services, in addition to the growth in the numbers of employees. So what about conceptual frameworks of this study? Well, this is more or less the frameworks of studies, where a numbers of immigrants entrepreneurial issue or Halalpreneurs, all right, which contributes to whether or not these issues help them to build more business success, and from the success it relates to future business prospects for them. Right. As far as the research methods is concerned, this particular case uses survey methods. We use face-to-face with design questionnaires, interview through interviewing techniques, what we call snowballing techniques, all right, in social sciences. We do a survey around Kuala Lumpur, and we managed to obtain, this is from the earlier studies, I tweaked into the Halalpreneur, all right, about 274 companies in Kuala Lumpur, and for the perceptions, we scale up them into 5 Likert scales, one of the methods that is used in social sciences. So before I go to the more empirical, more quantitative findings, let's look at some descriptive findings out of this survey. I cannot see myself here. Can you see it? Right. When it comes to the country of origins, you see Indonesia, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and mostly Arabs, I mean from Yemen and Middle East, represents the majority of the business or Halalpreneurs. Okay. We also found out the more important things is if you look at the other sides of the table, the purpose of immigrations, we can find that significant majority of them is to conduct business. So this is what I said earlier. We should not ignore business migrations. It becomes increasingly important for Malaysia and relatively fast-growing nations. All right, they are coming with their capitals, skill, and knowledge to conduct business, and it is good for the governments therefore to tap these business opportunities, because it creates multiplier effects in the economy, spin-off effects, which would later generate better economic growth. Right. What's our major things here? All right. I think with the remaining times left, let me go quickly to the next slides. Some of the issues which has been asked in this survey involve perceptions. So we have to do a kind of reliability test using this Cronbach alpha, all right, and that's the value of it. And we also use fact analysis for the, I have 7 cumulative factors. And we found 7 of them have the parameters accepted by statisticians. All right, the values more than 85. All right, and below than 85, that but more than 0.6. So more than 80.85, we come to the questions of multi-coloniality issues. So we don't want that. So we do structural measurements and we do structural model analysis. So the model found very good relationships of issues that have been discussed, all right, with the business success and business prospects. The relationships are very significant, and the RMCA, or root square means errors of estimations, comes to about less than 0.08, sorry, which means that's highly acceptable for the structures of relationships of this. So therefore, out of the hypothesis that we have, relationship between business issues and business success, both of them shows a very significant relationships. So based on this, just 1 minute. Based on this, so what can be concluded? Right, first and foremost, we should admit that business migrants should be viewed as different categories of migration than normal migrations, especially in the context of Malaysia, where we have a lot of unskilled migrations, all right, a lot of unskilled labor, which some of them we do not require it, but because of the political mediations, because of the political interest to some extent, because of the implementations of the laws and policy which has not been there, all right, that results in influx of unskilled. What we need is more skill and business migrations. Right. So another important issue out of this study is that if the migrants' business activities are being left untapped by the local governments or the authority, should, all right, the policy is more proactive toward them, in lines with promoting, giving support in terms of financial facilities, say for example, in terms of technical, managerial trainings, business extensions, in terms of infrastructure supports. All this we can see a brighter future for the business migrations in Malaysia. So with that, I thank you for the organizing committee for giving me this opportunity to share with you this afternoon. With that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much for Mr. Thank you very much, Prof.Dr. Moha Asri